Hi, this is David Mastio, California editor for the Center Square, and this is California in Focus. As always, I'm joined by Kenneth Schrupp, a California reporter for the Center Square. Today we're talking about California's eviction laws. So Kenneth, tell me what happened in Santa Monica.
Well, in Santa Monica, one so-called professional tenant ran up over $100,000 in unpaid rent. She got in through a Craigslist sublet, wasn't vetted by a landlord or added to the lease officially. With her, let's just say, quote, rude behavior, she drove out the other two roommates and filled the entire apartment with her belongings. She paid the first month's rent and security deposit and never paid another penny. This case, though, is not unusual. I mean, she took 9 months to be fully evicted, and this really highlights the current balance of tenant-owner relations in California, where tenants do seem to have outsized power over smaller landlords especially.
How long can litigation last in a case like this?
Look, 9 months is not unusual, and the main reason for this in California is the right to a jury trial. Every single eviction case has the right to a full jury trial, and that takes 2 weeks usually in court, and you're paying a trial lawyer the entire time. This means your legal bills, if you're a landlord, can be anywhere from $20,000 to $35,000 for a single eviction case.
Who pays the tenant's legal bills?
The tenant's legal bills are usually zero because they are entirely defended by nonprofits most often. There are legal nonprofits representing tenants that anybody who has been served any kind of eviction proceedings at the county or city level, they're given handouts to direct them to free legal aid.
Once an owner gets a court order, is the fight over?
Absolutely not. Many of these cases, the professional tenants have very little in terms of assets, so there's nothing you can really seize as payment. Sure, you might win a settlement in your favor, but how is that going to be paid if they're not making any money? You then have to actually get the sheriff to come remove the person and clear them out of the property, and that could take weeks or even months as well, given understaffing in most sheriff's departments across the state.
What's a cash for keys agreement?
So as I said earlier, a landlord might have to spend $35,000 on an eviction. An alternative to that is the landlord going, look, you violated your lease. You are not paying any rent. In fact, you've caused damage to my apartment and you've caused me to lose significant income from your non-payment. But it is still cheaper for me just to say, look, I'll give you $2,000 if you move out today and you never come back. In a lot of cases, cash for keys is much easier, cheaper, and faster than going through an eviction process.
How do other states handle situations like this?
Other states, it's a lot simpler and a lot shorter. You go in front of a commissioner, you get a hearing date in a couple of weeks, and it's over. There's no lengthy appeals process. There's no way to drag this out for months on end. The sheriff comes in a couple days after the hearing, and that's it.
In the coming months, there's going to be an issue related to this on the statewide ballot. What's happening there?
Yeah, that's right. There are a couple initiatives coming up. The statewide initiative is the Prohibit State Limitations on Local Rent Control initiative. It'll allow cities to significantly expand rent control and prevent units currently under rent control from being able to charge new tenants market rates. So a city could come out and say, you're only allowed to raise your rate over the previous tenant by X amount. And with a high amount of inflation and a lot of people who haven't left their rent control units, this will lead to a situation where some landlords would prefer a unit to just be vacant and not causing additional buildup in maintenance costs than rent them out to the public. And this will only increase the housing shortage. It's also going to make people more hesitant to want to build new housing in California if they know that they can't guarantee any kind of returns or rent increases that can keep up with inflation or even just charge market rent to new tenants.
What will the result of that passing be, according to the lawyer that you interviewed?
The lawyer put it in very clear terms. What has happened when you reduce property rights for landlords is all of these small and medium-sized landlords who are more flexible with their tenants, who try to work things out with them, they're all leaving the state or leaving the jurisdictions where these new laws are being applied, and they're all just selling to these large private equity firms. The lawyer, he said, and I quote, "If Los Angeles wants only ruthless private equity landlords, this is a surefire way to get there." He is a real estate lawyer, Avi Sinai. He has represented many clients across Los Angeles and Santa Monica, and he says they're selling tens of millions of dollars of their multifamily holdings because they don't want to deal with these tenant laws anymore.
Kenneth, will there be consequences outside the housing market?
Yeah, in addition to the reductions in housing supply and consolidation under private equity, the California Government Legislative Analyst Office estimates that this measure would reduce state and local revenues significantly through declines in rental property values, which means you're paying less in property taxes, and less income tax because landlords are not going to be making as much money. They also imagine there'll be increased spending on enforcement of rent control and the expansion of bureaucracies that oversee rent control management.
I'm David Mastio with the Center Square, and we've been talking with Kenneth Schrupp, California reporter for the Center Square. You can read his work at thecentersquare.com. Thank you for listening to California in Focus, and please subscribe to our podcast.
Knowledge is power, and you deserve to know what happens in your state government. That's why the nonprofit Franklin News Foundation is bringing you straight news journalism through the Center Square, reporting on state authorities and publishing stories that show where your money goes and who spends it. By supporting the Center Square, you can track politicians' use of taxpayer money and demand transparency from elected officials. This is how we can equip everyday Americans to hold their government accountable. Become a supporter of Franklin today at franklinnews.org/donate.